Hello, I'm Fatima. I'm an expert from IDVET. We are the Vocational Education and Training Organization of the employers of Baden-Württemberg, Germany, southwestern state. In today's model from our seminar Implementation of Dual Vocation, Education and Training, IDVET, I want to talk why schools, companies and students should join DVET. As you know, dual training is strong in Central Europe. This region of the world has its own specific history and current reality. But it works in other parts of the world too. Myself, for example, have been many years active in the implementation and strengthening of dual training in Portugal. And believe me, it has benefited many young people and companies here. So, if you want to implement dual training in your country, perhaps you need to adapt. In the end, you will have to fit to your own local situation and the needs of the people that you want to bring together. Before we begin, I want to say thank you to the two institutions of their support. One is the Federal Ministry of Economy and Cooperation and Development, BMZ. The other is Secure from Bonn. Without this support, this seminar would not be possible. In this model, we will speak about the arguments to convince schools, companies and students to join DVET, but also about the arguments against DVET from the schools, companies and students for a better understanding of the challenges that we will have to face. Let's start thinking why schools or universities should join DVET. My personal favorite reason is that it makes young people prosper. For us who love to work in education, this may be the biggest motivation. Another important argument or point for the schools and universities is that producing successful employing students will bring prestige and a good image of the institutions. And keep in mind that prestige can attract external funding, as for example the state, donors, companies and other potential founders. Another important argument is the prestige which will attract more students. Entering a positive cycle in having funding and students will be a good basis for the arguments or for other arguments, such as due to the number of students, a better usage of the existing capacities. In this fact, we will allow for better budgetary planning due to the constant stream of income. Remember that the constant stream of income allows to eventually make surplus that can be reinvested in the school. The main goal will be that the institutions can provide quality training to companies as an additional source of income. In this slide, we will speak about the benefits and arguments for companies to join DVET. The companies are the partners that are more focused in the financial results. A company normally will invest in DVET if they see at the end a financial outcome or a benefit. That means that the important argument to join DVET will be that apprentices become a productive workforce within 2 and 3 months. After 2 or 3 months of investment in the training, they are productive and cheaper than a normal worker. The company will also save recruitment costs because they don't have to recruit on the open market. It's important to underline that apprenticeships are a safer bet for a company in comparison to a normal worker. The exit costs for an apprenticeship are higher. If trainees quit their job, they don't get their training certificates. Another point is that apprenticeships are not spoiled by other companies. Companies can mold them to perform to their standards and needs. Also think about if the trainee is treated well during he or her apprenticeship, changes are high, she will stay with the company. At the end is a win-win situation for both because the company will have a motivated worker trained to the needs of the company. And the last, another more indirect benefit is that the in-company trainer receives further training for their task. The training of trainers, from my experience, is basically a leadership training. This is something useful for all companies with more than staff members. Now, in the next slide, we will focus on the benefits and arguments why students should join DVET. First, the students will learn practical skills in a company and get experience in their field of work. Remember, since they are learning in a company, there is a good probability that they will be hired by the company after the apprenticeship. Imagine the case that the trainee is not hired by the company where she learned. Anyway, they have a practical work experience and which gives them an advantage of the employment market, or if they want to become self-employed. Another important aspect is that the trainees will receive a certificate, a diploma, that is valued by employers, and they can build on their certificate and go for further training. A last point that should be mentioned is that can be cheaper than a normal vocational training if companies are contributing for the training costs. Implementing DVET is not always easy in a new country, and despite the valid and confirmed by years of experience arguments in other countries, you will face counter-arguments and resistance from the different groups. Please be prepared to hear counter-arguments from schools. We have some examples and also some arguments that you can use in these cases and that can help you for the future situations. Following situations can happen. It's too complicated, we don't understand it. A response from our side can be, experts such as IDVET can guide you of the implementation. Or, it's too expensive. It's less expensive than you might think. Extra costs are incurring for further training of your teachers and the hiring of a coordinator. You can factor these costs into the tuition costs of the students. Another counter-argument can be, we don't have available staff for it. You can use the existing staff and give them extra paid hours for DVET classes. You can factor this cost into the tuition costs of the students. You can also transform existing trades into DVET trades to staff amount stays the same. In some professions, especially in technical areas, our arguments is, we don't have the right machinery for it. At the beginning, you can teach the relevant theory to students at the practical exercises with tools and machinery that happened in the company. Or it's too expensive for the students. An argument from our side, it's worth the money because employment changes are high after the training. It can be cheaper than regular vocational training because the training companies are sponsoring part of the training fees, depending on how actual agreement will be with companies is. And that last example, it's taking away work from our teachers. In fact, can provide them with extra paid hours or only the teaching content is changed. The companies may have similar counter-arguments concerning the idea to join DVET. Some examples are, apprenticeships costs money. An argument from our side can be, so do new workers. In comparison to a normal worker, they cost you less money. They also bring you money. They do practical projects and give benefits to the company. Another argument can be, or counter-argument from the companies can be, our apprenticeships can damage things. Again, this can happen to you with person you hire from the labor market. And this is why the apprenticeship needs to receive only tasks according to his/her knowledge, needs an induction and needs to be supervised. This is why we can provide an apprenticeship guide for you and give you in-company trainer, pedagogical and leadership training. Companies invest in apprenticeships who leave after having finished their apprenticeship. After 2 or 3 months, they do productivity work for you less money than a normal worker. Since it's not guaranteed that apprenticeship stays, focus on the short-term results. Practical projects who leave for staff when there is a lot of work, funded projects can be evaluated for the company. Another argument can be, companies can find workers more comfortable from other sources, not with those two combined values. Good knowledge for company processes and less costs. As back, how long will people from the open job market stay with you? Do you get expert support onboarding training them? Another counter-argument is apprenticeships have to be paid while they are in a training center too. It is less compared to employer at the same time. At school, the apprenticeship learns new skills for the company. She can apply this new knowledge almost immediately on the job. And that last example of a counter-argument can be more work for in-company trainers, workers. it is worth investing the time. An apprentice is a safe bet for your company for the period of the apprenticeship. The alternative to an apprenticeship is to hire somebody from the open job market. Are you sure that somebody else will still with you in 6 months? She gets training on pedagogic and modern equipment. The in-company trainer should be a team manager who already does similar tasks. If that is true, they are already doing similar work and is not taking away time. To complete the important issue concerning counter-arguments against DVET, we should also think about the students and their families that often support or are the origin of these arguments against DVET. Here are some examples. It's too expensive in exchange for that I get. It's cheaper than regular vocational training for you because the training companies are sponsoring a part of the training fees. In many countries, you can argue that it's definitely cheaper than university. Or, it's not sure I will get a job afterwards. This is a risk with any education you pursue. With your vocational training, you are directly working in a company that may be willing to employ you after your training if you have satisfied their demands. So actually chances are high you will have a job afterwards. Or vocational training is only for losers. I want to study at university. How many university graduates you know who are employed? Having technical skills and experience gives you an advantage of the labor market. I don't understand the system. It's new, but we can explain it to you. Or, companies are exploiting the interns or they are only assigned to nonsense work. In the apprenticeship program, we have a training logbook where training tasks for your job are written down that should be done during the training in the company. We are trying to ensure that you are doing practical tasks that are related to your vocational. And at last, very useful and true. My parents don't want me to go for vocational training. We can explain the benefits to them. It can be cheaper, chances for employment are after higher, and dual vocational training is different from the normal vocational training. Here you can see what I do in our seminars at the end of the session. Here I work on your own solution for your context. We play a role play. Let us simulate a meeting in a company. One of you represents a company owner who is extremely skeptical concerning DVET. The other tries to convince him or her. This is always a lot of fun. We enjoy this a lot. I hope this video was useful for you. If so, please feel free to give us a like. I wish you a lot of success in your activities.